Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome to the Full Spectrum Project. I am your host, Brian Clune, and I am joined by my co-host.
Hi, this is Pete Haviland in the wonderful world of Texas.
The wonderful world of Texas.
That's the only thing I can think of at the moment.
Yeah, well, I was going to say something else, but then I just realized I'm actually on air with 3 other Texans. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, well, you'll live and you'll learn.
I'm in the sunny, wonderful state of California. And one of these days I will be moving back to the United States. But we are also joined by our Weird World News anchor, Angie. Introduce yourself.
I am Angela Moley. Good afternoon. Evening. Good evening. Good evening to all y'all.
See,
she's starting early.
I was going to say, that's what happens when you live in Texas. You don't even know what time of day it is. Jeez. Or it's the whiskey. I'm hoping it's the whiskey. That's one of the reasons I'm thinking about moving there.
Well, it's the whiskey and the fact that I haven't gone outside in a few hours, so I didn't notice that it's dark now.
Gotcha. Anyway, today we are joined by Susan Hill, and we're going to be discussing urban legends. But something I found out today that kind of surprised me. Did you guys know that Alex Trebek died?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Who is Alex Trebek?
Well, here's what's funny. Did you guys know that his life was in jeopardy?
Oh my goodness.
Oh God. Susan, I'm so sorry. We're starting early.
I'm relatively sure.
I apologize. What in the hell is that?
What do you mean? I already get cheered.
Oh.
Are you sure? Never mind.
Wow.
What? I thought you'd like that.
Go ahead.
No? No?
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Jeez. Okay. So anyway, Susan, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get started into researching urban legends?
Well, like you said, my name's Susan Hill, born and raised in a tiny town in Texas. And I'm an author, have books out. I'm doing a whole series on all the states in the U.S., and then I'm going to delve into the world. I've just always, I don't know, I like weird stuff. That's one of my big things. And so I guess I've always been a storyteller. I've always liked the folk tales, the legends, and just those interesting little weird things that people come up with. And I think, I've been a paranormal investigator for years, but originally I was more into the scientific part of it because that's, I actually teach, and I'm in the science part of everything. And so I just, I like I like the stories. I like how interesting it is. I love the history that comes about through it too. I'm a big research junkie, so that, falls into it as well.
You and I would get along really well. I love doing research.
Well, and it is. It's the neat thing about research is, especially now, there's so much of it out there. You have to weed through all this crap to try and get to something that's real. And then I just really like being able. The thing about urban legends is you can go and start with this story that sounds completely ridiculous, and the more you dig and dig into these historic documents, you might actually find some real truths in there. I love that. So, yeah, it's just, I think it's just kind of one thing to another.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know what you mean. One thing kind of leads into the research of another, and then all of a sudden you start to realize, oh my gosh, I really like this, and then that leads you into something else, and the next thing you know, you're like 5 miles from where you began.
Yes.
So you have a couple books out about urban legends. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so so far I have 3, and actually the 4th one in the series will be out next week. So the first one is the A's, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. And so basically, of course, because everybody has the whole thing about the number 13, I decided that I was going to stick with the creepiness and just do 13 urban legends about each state. I particularly like to look for, I always put in some that are the ones that people have heard, especially if you're from that state or the area where it is.
Right.
But I love talking to locals in small towns, and I travel all the time. But I love talking to especially the little old people at the cafes because they're the best ones.
Right.
They will tell you these amazing old legends and folklore and lead you to the best places to find, and I love those small town legends. That's my favorite because it shows so much about the local culture. So yeah, that's kind of, I do a mixture. I do a couple of well-known legends, and then I try and mix in a lot of the smaller ones. And also with a lot of the stories, I do take pictures of the places I've been, and then I also try and get eyewitness accounts from people in the town. So anytime I can get those, I put those in there.
So explain what the difference is between folklore and urban legend, if there actually is a difference.
Well, I mean, to me, it's like folklore is very much the older stuff, things from back, like a lot of true folklore comes from like the Appalachian area, very much maybe in Louisiana, things like that, where they have like the old magic, as they would say. And it's just the older stuff. I think urban legends tend to be some of this newer, but they kind of mixed, because people have told, that's the thing about legends and folklore is people tell them, from year to year, and they tell them through the different, their ancestors tell them. So your grandparents are telling the grandkids, and then the grandkids have changed it into being a rite of passage to go to these places and, test out the legend. And, so I think they've almost melded. But that's just the way I see it, is more of a folklore is not necessarily something that's going to be scary. It's more of a cautionary thing. Like, hey kids, don't go play in those woods because there's a witch, or, there's,
right,
the Bigfoot's going to eat you. I don't know, whatever it is. The boogeyman will get you if you're bad, all those things that, the older generations will tell kids. And I think the newer generations have turned it into more of an urban legend that it's, these, I guess they're more modernized.
Well, I know you were saying Bigfoot might get you, but one of the things that I've noticed recently is that Pete has sort of developed his own urban legend, and parents are actually now saying, kids, you better behave or Pete will get you. So, that's something that I thought was kind of interesting.
Well,
Brian,
are
you drunk? Are you drinking?
Oh my God, Pete's gonna get me. Sorry, Pete.
It's okay. I just wish it was funny. That's all.
Should I play my laugh track?
Oh no.
No, please don't play those.
Okay. I have one. So,
I know you do. Play those for your house. Play those at your house. I'm sure that they'll get a lot of use.
Oh, I play them in the grocery store too. Are you kidding me?
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've worn out. I'm sure you've worn out the fart one by now.
Oh, you know what? By the way, Pete, never do that in an Apple store. Seriously, never fart in an Apple store. They don't have windows.
Oh. Wow.
I'm just saying.
I apologize for the smell that is wafting around the studio right now for the last two jokes.
Well, I'm just saying, just be careful when it comes to that. It could be dangerous.
Uh-huh. Brian, it didn't go over the first time. Don't try to resurrect it. Let it die where it's at. It's all good.
I wonder if we should talk about Resurrection Mary, since you brought up resurrecting.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so Susan, since Pete segued into that, what is it about Resurrection Mary? Because one of the things that it's like perhaps the most famous urban legend out there.
Right.
What are its origins?
Well, that's debatable because here's the deal: the Resurrection Mary thing. It's the most widely known of the quote unquote white ladies.
Okay.
Right.
But they're all over. They're not just the United States. They're literally all over the world. The white lady hitchhiker is one of the biggest things next to the boogeyman that you will find globally.
I saw it last week.
I mean, to me, I don't know. This is a hard because these have been around for internet days. And
no, it was before the internet. Nothing's been before the internet.
Yeah, things actually existed before the internet. I know.
If it's on, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
This is true. I've been told.
That's what they say.
But the thing is that it just seems. Are people really seeing is this a certain kind of entity that we don't know about or something? I don't know.
Well, wasn't there a case of a person that picked her up, took her to a dance, and took her home, and he still talks about it.
Yes, and took her home, dropped her off, and so if he did all of this, I don't know. I mean, I don't know because, you can't always trust what people say, but there have been so many people who have had this experience, not just with Resurrection Mary, but in these other cases. And I mean, you've even had police officers who come in contact with these and, people who you expected not, because they're not going to tell these stories and have their reputation tarnished,
Well,
so,
one of the things that I find
what?
No, I was just going to say one of the things that I think is kind of interesting is, and I want to say it was Telly Savalas back in the day, that he told a tale about this happening to him, about him picking up a hitchhiker, and he was going to take her to wherever she lived, and by the time he got there, she was no longer in the car.
Yeah,
So,
she just disappeared. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just ordinary people, and so there are even celebrities that have come out and talked about this phenomena.
Well, I remember
Right.
too that there was a case of somebody having driven by Resurrection Cemetery and saw
Mhm.
a woman at the gates, and I believe it was the next day that I think it was a security guard or something looked at the gates, and there was two bent bars, and there were handprints in it. And I think up until recently, one of the bars is missing now, but the other bar's still there.
Hmm. Yeah. I just, I honestly feel like there is something to this. There have been too many people that have come forward saying stories very much like this. And I mean, and it's always strange that they follow the same pattern,
Mm-hmm.
which is what makes me think that this is some sort of, I don't know, is this some sort of like I said, some sort of being we don't know about?
I don't know. Well, as you know,
Because
in
there's so
Texas,
many of them.
we have La Llorona. Forgive
Yes,
my Spanish, but she's the one of the big white ladies here in Texas, as you know.
yes, exactly. And that actually started from Mexico and transitioned here. And it's funny, actually, quite a few states, of course, it's like Texas, Arizona, New
California.
Mexico, California, and Oklahoma, even Utah, all kind of fight over where the one who has her. Like,
I didn't know Utah. I didn't know Utah had something like that up there.
In the southern half of Utah, they actually do, like in the Canyonlands and stuff like that.
Okay. What a weeping woman.
I found some. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the La Llorona legend has. You'll probably find a variation of it in just about every state. Not necessarily,
Exactly.
called La Llorona, but it'll have like Pete, like you said, the weeping woman, or
Right.
another handle that people call it. It's one of those things that just sort of grew from who knows where. But I know the most famous one is the one coming from Mexico. And I actually have a friend of mine who swears that when he was down in Mexico, he was working at a resort, and they were closing up the resort due to a storm coming in. And he swears that he went down to the shore because there was a woman there, and as she turned, she just disappeared. He swears that that was La Llorona.
Wow.
So, I cannot confirm or deny the story, but it's just one of those strange ones. Now, Pete, you said something about Resurrection Cemetery. Is that where Resurrection Mary got her name? Was from that cemetery, that area, and I believe it's around Chicago, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
believe
where
so.
Yeah, that's where she got her name. Supposedly, she is it's a lady who is buried at that cemetery.
Yeah,
And that's why.
There's like two Marys, I think, that people are trying to figure out who she is.
Right.
One is, I think, Mary Begrady is one of them, and then there was another one. Now, one of them, I think, had died in a car crash, and there's some stories out there on that of the lady that died in the car crash, and then the other one, I don't remember how she came about.
Yeah, it's most people side with the one who had passed away in the car crash because the biggest story is that she actually died coming home from a dance.
Yes.
or going to the dance. She never made it to the dance, and so that's why she wants to make it to the dance. And so she keeps trying to, and then the other part, of course, there's always like 17 different stories, but one of the other ones is she's just trying to make her way home. So sometimes people say they find her on the side of the road, and so they offer her a ride, and she says, take me to this address, and the address is the actual cemetery. And another one is they pick her up at the cemetery, and she's like, can you take me home? And they take her to a house that used to be hers. And in some cases, either the house is abandoned, and in some cases, the person knocks on the door saying, I brought a girl here, but she seems to have disappeared. And the mom says, my daughter died this many years ago, or something like that. It just depends on who you ask.
Unfortunately, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will continue talking to Susan Hill about urban legends, and I hope you will join us when we come back from our break.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please go to WBHM-DB.com and you can join in the chat there. And if you'd like to call in with questions for our guests or the hosts, you can call into area code 205-533-7982. So we've been talking with Susan Hill about urban legends. And Susan, if you can answer this, you may not even know, I'm not sure anybody actually knows the answer to this, But where do urban legends come from? Who starts these?
Well, I mean, everybody. You know, I mean, they don't really have any specific origins. From sometimes there's a few that you may be able to track down to a certain date that something happened, and then that legend was born. Like, I mean, there's certain ones that are just about a specific being. Let's think. I can't even think of any right off the top of. There's one that's called the Snallygaster that is out of Maryland, and it started on a certain date. And so that particular one, you can track it back to that time. Now, the person who started it, who knows? But a lot of them I've noticed in research, they started by a newspaper report. Somebody at some point made a claim back in the 1800s, or a lot of them in the U.S. at least, started with a claim, and they printed something in the newspaper, and then the whole town kind of went crazy because there's not a whole lot going on. And then it just turns into this big snowball. And from generation to generation, it's told over and over again. And it's kind of like that old game of telephone where you tell part of a story and then the next person's supposed to repeat it, but it always changes from person to person.
Right.
That's exactly what they're stories. And so it may have started out as something that it was a cool story, but then it turned into this big something else. And that's part of the research of getting down to, the story's really neat, but once you get down to it, I find it really interesting, the history part of it, when you can go, wait a minute, these people were actually pretty cool. Look at what they did. So, I think each origin is different, but it's hard to track down to the exact person.
Well, I know that over time, a lot of these urban legends tend to change, but how do they grow? Because some of these urban legends have grown to just, pardon the pun, monstrous proportions, starting from something just, relatively small and mundane. How do these things grow so quickly?
I honestly feel like, we like things that we can't completely explain. That is what we like, that hunt. We want to believe. I think everybody kind of deep down, even if you're a ridiculously analytical person, deep down, that little kid inside wants to believe that there are things out there that are magical and mystical that you can't explain. And I think that's a big part of it. I think people just want part of the retelling over and over again. It makes you feel like you're part of that something magical. So I feel like that's part of it. I think once people start hearing these stories, they're like, you always hear people say, well, I know this, and, this happened in my town, but it may not have happened in that person's town, but it happened in another state or another country. They want to feel like they were part of that big thing. And I truly do feel like that's how some of these really blow up, is people start saying, oh, that happened to me too. That happened to me too. And I feel like that's what makes it get so big. But then on the flip side, just like we were talking about with the Lady in White and Resurrection Mary, if this is happening all over the place, then maybe it's making these people feel like I'm not crazy. Like maybe this did happen. And yeah, so I'm not really sure why the momentum always, it kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes things will go away and then all of a sudden it comes right back out. Because there was a big craze, again, just Bigfoot's just an easy one to use because everybody knows about it. And so there was a huge Bigfoot craze, and it kind of went away for a long time. I mean, it wasn't gone, but it wasn't a big thing. And then it's, seen a resurgence here lately. And so I don't know. I don't know what the cause of that is.
Well, Susan, you had mentioned. I'd like to start talking about your first book, and you had mentioned as you've researched that sometimes when you research, you find that there's actual truth. Can you give us some examples from the first book of what you've researched and what was actual truth, and then maybe go into some of the weirder things that you found out about some of those urban legends?
So, let me think. My first one, I guess. So there was a really interesting one that was actually out of Alaska, and it's really. So there are several places in the United States that are kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. That are, there's one that's up kind of in the Pine Barrens area, that area that's
then you have the Bridgewater Triangle, and then the Japanese or Chinese Dragon Triangle or something.
Right. Yeah. And so there's one in Alaska, the Alaskan Triangle. So
is that Bridgewater?
Really interesting. No, it's actually just called the Alaskan Triangle.
Is it? Oh, okay.
I honestly did not know about this until I started doing the research. But I found it really interesting as I delved into it, how much there was actually a congressman, and I cannot remember his name because I'm horrible with names, but there was a congressman who his plane actually went down, and he and two of his assistants died or disappeared. And of course, it's Alaska. You expect there's a lot of land, but it's this one section that literally, of course, it's a congressman. There's going to be a lot of, National Guard, everybody went out there. They combed the entire area where the last blip that they got from the radar. And they could find no trace of that plane whatsoever. And there have been literally thousands and thousands of people who have disappeared in this area. They were there. Even cell phones have pinged from the area, and then all of a sudden the phone's gone. So tracing these back, that was kind of interesting to me, that I can actually read even recent disappearances of people that have been hiking in that area. They always, told people where they were going to be. And even somebody had posted a picture on Instagram, and it was found out that 3 minutes after that, their phone just was gone. It disconnected from the tower. So
have you heard of a shapeshifter from that area called the Kushtaka?
Yes, actually I did write about that one too.
Because I'm wondering if you have this shapeshifter that I believe is supposed to be a half man, half otter.
Yes.
I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
It's very possible. And there are quite a few, the Inuits that are up there have quite a few of these different creatures that they talk about. And if these things are working together, I don't see how anybody can stay alive. But yeah, if it's able to, actually do this shape shifting, It could. And all of these things are kind of seen regularly in that triangle. So I don't know. That was one of the things that I found quite interesting with Alaska. There was a lot of, and there's a lot of Native American, of course, in that area legends. And I really love the Native American legends. They're very interesting, and they always have a story behind them.
Right.
Like it's teaching you something, because like you said with the Kushtaka, it is actually they were trying to explain to the children, do not go near the icy water, because they didn't want their kids to fall through the ice and disappear. So they're trying to explain to their kids, don't play around the water's edge, don't get too far away, and for safety reasons. But if this is real, then this thing, was probably killing kids constantly, and that's why they were like, you better stay really close to the village. So, yeah.
Now, in your first book, did you touch on Hell's Gate Bridge by any chance?
Yes, I did.
So can you explain that one to our listeners?
So Hell's Gate Bridge, and so here's the interesting thing. There's actually a lot of those all over the U.S. And same name, same story. But the most well-known is Arkansas. And so it's an old wooden bridge, and used to you could drive across it. And so the deal was, the legend says, is if you would park in the middle of the bridge, and I believe that one's if you turn off the lights, I cannot remember. If you turn off the lights, then start backing off the bridge, that the gates of hell will open up in front of you. So you can't drive across the bridge anymore.
I was going to say, I got to ask, in front or behind you? Because if it's in front of you, I'd say keep backing up.
Exactly. Because I know, I want to say that one was in front of you. It's supposed to show up in front of you, and then if you turn on your lights, then it'll go away. But there is one, and I may have gotten them mixed up because I just got finished reading another one like 2 days ago.
Gotcha.
That was in another state. But there was one that when you look in the rear view mirror, and actually I think that may be Arkansas, I think you may be right, that if you look in the rear view mirror, then Hell's Gates will be behind you. Which now you can't drive across this bridge. They've put up those big concrete pillars because it's an old wooden bridge. But you can still walk out there. And there are other things that people say that will happen around there. People talk about seeing specters in the woods that are around it. And if you look down off the side of the bridge, sometimes you can see people hanging from it. I didn't see anything whenever I was there. Doesn't mean anything. But of course, I couldn't drive my car out on it either, so I couldn't really test the theory. But yeah, that's one of the more popular ones in that area with the Hell's Gate, and I think that is truly the most well-known in the United States. But there are a lot.
Yeah. We were kind of talking about urban legends based in reality and how things grow and change over time. Are you familiar with what is now basically an urban legend of Charlie No Face in Pennsylvania?
Ah, yes. Oh, Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
it's a real person.
Yeah, he was a real person. Can you explain that one on what happened with that whole thing?
Yeah. So he actually he was bless his heart, he was really, I think,
Messed
oh
up.
goodness, yeah, he really had like no facial features. I mean, it was kind of
Well,
like
from what
the top.
I read, what happened is a trolley wire fell, and basically he got electrocuted and it melted his face.
Yeah, it pretty much. He really didn't have any of his features left. There was just kind of like, I don't,
kind of all melted together.
Yeah, it literally looked like his skin on his face just kind of melted downwards.
Yeah.
But he kind of turned into a whole big legend. Of course, kids being kids, they were mean and teased him and were afraid of him.
Well, he used to walk around at night, I believe, because during the day he didn't want to freak people out, or he didn't want to be made fun of by other people for the way he looked. So he used to walk around at night. Yeah,
probably
made people. It kind of grew on that. That kind of made people think, okay, he's like a monster. He really is a boogeyman kind of thing, and unfortunately, but even long after he died, people have kept that alive, and that he is still, roaming around at night, and don't get caught outside because Charlie No Face will get you. And it's actually kind of sad because this poor guy.
It is sad.
I mean,
it is sad.
He already had a horrible accident during life that.
Yeah, and I understand he had a big heart. That the people that actually talked to him, he was very, very kind.
And what's really sad about this whole thing is if you ask people today about the urban legend of Charlie No Face, now he's been transformed into this radioactive, glowing man type figure who haunts an abandoned freight tunnel. Yeah. And when I was looking up on, reading up on that, I just kept thinking to myself, I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Sky High, how the bus driver fell into a vat of acid and now helps the mayor, or toxic waste, and he's now green and helps the mayor with giant robots. And it's like, that's kind of what I think about when I think of
I think I want what you're on.
Hey, come to California. It's the only place you can get it.
I bet.
And hey,
I got one for you, Susan.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
Bunnyman Bridge.
Oh.
Okay, Bunnyman. That's actually in a couple of places too, which was really confusing. Yeah, it was very confusing, and there's several stories, and of course that whole. Okay, I'm probably gonna make people mad because I know people love creepypasta stuff, but it is aggravating.
Oh yeah.
Creepypasta.
Creepypasta stuff.
Susan, can you do me a favor and just hold that thought? We have to go to a quick break, but we'll continue with Bunnyman as soon as we get back. So we'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
Woohoo, Bunnyman!
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please go to WBHM-DB.com. And if you'd like to call in with questions for our guest or the hosts, you can call area code 205-533-7982. It's funny. When you said Bunny Man, I was thinking about a buddy of mine that I'm actually going to have to start calling Margarine Man. The guy he actually, and this happened earlier today.
Angie, get the stick.
He actually ate a whole tub of margarine on a dare, and he's been in the hospital since. We've been trying to talk to the doctors, but all they can tell us is they can't believe it's not better.
Oh.
Angie, where was the stick?
Where's Angie? She ran. I don't blame her.
I think she probably left. I think
I
we're
don't
on our own.
Just don't even know what to say anymore. It's like it cannot dissuade you from doing this type of thing, and so I'm afraid that commenting just further.
Hey, stop it. Please stop that.
All right, so getting back to Bunny Man. I'm sorry to have cut you off there, Susan. Please continue.
No problem.
Woohoo, Bunny Man.
So Bunny Man is out of Virginia, or the Bunny Man Bridge, the most well-known. It's out of Virginia. And I want to say it was around in the 70s sometime. So basically it was a man who was wearing a rabbit costume, like a full-blown Easter Bunny rabbit costume. And he was supposed to be around this, they call it a bridge, but it's a tunnel. So It's a tunnel that's kind of like it's a tunnel.
Okay.
And so
like train tunnel or just car tunnel,
it's
walking
actually
tunnel?
a road tunnel. A road goes through it. It's not super long. It's probably maybe, I don't know, I'd say 30 feet. It's just a regular size. And he would attack people with an axe or maybe like a little hatchet. And there's all different, of course, different variations.
You just don't hear stuff like that coming from rabbits these days.
I know. That's just, the rabbits they're more cultured now. They don't, this way anymore.
Yeah, they're usually peaceful and fluffy.
Yeah.
Not this one.
So what got him upset?
Nobody knows. But they say that, he, even after he died, whoever this person was that was killing people with a hatchet, even after he died, his ghost still attacks people. And he's especially active around Halloween. Because then he can fit in,
So you think that there are people out there dressing up like that and just scaring people at Halloween now, or are they just seeing things?
I think a lot of people. I think people are just scaring each other. I mean, of course, teenagers are the biggest ones who spread these.
Of course.
And I'm sure they're just scaring each other. And, guys are trying to get their girls to snuggle up to them.
Huh?
I was gonna say that. Yeah, I guess that would work. So I have
Caught me off guard on that one, Susan.
Oh, sorry.
Actually, I loved it. I always love it when Pete gets caught off guard.
Doesn't happen that often.
So I wanted to ask you, this is one of the more modern urban legends. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it. Whether you've actually done any research on it, I'm not not sure. But it's the one about a firefighting helicopter that scoops up a diver and then drops him on a fire drop. Where on earth? I was going to say, where on earth would this have originated?
I have not done any research on it, but I have heard the story. I mean,
I would have hated to be that diver. I mean,
tell me about it.
Yeah, you're looking for fish and stuff. Next thing you know, your trees are coming at you.
Right. Yeah, I'm a certified diver, so I think,
cool. Are you PADI certified?
Yes.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, and for open water and wreck diving.
Nice. Just watch out for those helicopter snorkels.
Well, exactly, and that's what I was fixing to say. Like, I mean, I'm no expert, but I don't know that. Like, it's like a hose thing that drops down. Is what I've seen. So I don't know how a whole people could fit in those.
Well, it didn't say how tall he was or how how.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I just have to wonder how something like that even gets started. I mean, who thinks up? Let's see. I wonder if a helicopter can suck up a diver and drop him onto a fire. I mean, that was just mind-boggling to me.
We could try it out. Brian, you can be the diver.
Right.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Okay.
Yeah, diabetics aren't supposed to go diving, so we'll just have to.
They're not.
So.
They're not really.
No.
I didn't know. I'm a diabetic as well. I didn't know.
Well, then never go diving unless there's a helicopter around.
Well, it's funny because I'm certified PADI as well.
Are you?
Yeah.
Does Patty know that?
PADI knows everything.
Oh.
Everything. And what you don't think that they know, they send you a mail packet to show you that they know what you've done.
Patty sends you a mail? What?
Mail packet.
I'm not going to go there. Never mind.
Yeah, okay.
I'm mad now.
So here's one other strange one that you may or may not have heard of. But there's an urban legend about a dwarf who was a circus performer who was accidentally swallowed whole by a hippo. Are you familiar with that one at all?
I am not.
No?
I am not familiar with that.
Because I was wondering,
This isn't another dad joke, is it?
No. There are some examples of
because
urban
I could
legends.
see where it would go that way.
You have no faith in me, do you, Pete?
I have none.
Wow. Okay, fine. But either way, so you have some urban legends that span not only the United States, but kind of the whole world, all have a variation of certain urban legends. I was wondering if that might be one of them. But what are some of the urban legends that are kind of, it's going to sound kind of funny, but worldly?
Honestly, the biggest one that I have found that is everywhere is the boogeyman. And that's the most, common one. But it's very interesting how all over the world parents basically scare their kids into acting right.
Well,
by
honestly,
telling them,
you can't blame them. I mean, if it works,
no. Exactly.
yeah.
Wait, is that why we were supposed to do it? I always did it just for fun.
And I think it's funny that, literally it does not matter where you live in our entire world. Everywhere they have some sort of boogeyman type being. And a lot of them actually do kind of seem the same. A lot of them tend to be kind of like the American boogeyman is usually like a dark shadow type figure that's going to be under your bed or in your closet, and he'll
I
get
always
you if
hated
you're
that.
being a bad kid. Right.
I always hated that one. The under the bed monster. God, I hated that.
Yes.
Yeah, he's much scarier than the closet monster.
Agreed. You have to jump into the bed. You got to jump like 3 feet away so you can. But I thought it was really cool. I was looking through, and like in Egypt, their boogeyman, they call him. Well, I'm not going to butcher their beautiful language, but the translation is the burned leg man. And basically, the story is, as a child, this kid got burned really bad because he didn't listen to what his parents said. And so now he's grown up into this, monster, and he will come and get kids who are being bad and misbehaving, and he will steal the kids, cook them, and eat them.
How horrible. Oh, man. To start off with, am I to understand that his parents burned his legs because he didn't listen? And then he starts eating kids because they're not listening?
Exactly.
Oh, that's horrible.
Exactly. I know. I was like, okay, wow.
Oh, God.
Oh, I wish I would have had that one when my kids were younger. I'd have had fun with that.
Jesus. And all I worried about was having our cat underneath the bed and always making noises and crap, and I always thought it was the underbed monster.
Right.
That was a good 6 months worth of therapy right there.
Yeah. But also, like in Albania, their boogeyman, it's called, I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like a buba, and it's actually like a serpent type monster, and they would use it to make their children be quiet. And so they would say, if you're being a loud child, then the buba's going to come and get you. And
that's better than burning your kids' legs and having them eat kids.
This is true.
Wow.
And in Africa, I'm not really sure. I couldn't pin down exactly what the area of Africa it is, but one of the tribes the original tribes in Africa, they had one that it basically translates to skull, and it's just a big old skull that's sitting out in the forest apparently, and it was going after kids that are very talkative, and it would, if your child was being super talkative and they wouldn't stop asking questions and bothering you, it would come and get your child and eat him. So, yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's cool.
A lot of these people just want their children to be quiet.
Yeah, I was going to say, they seem to have a lot of legends where children get eaten.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sort of seems to be kind of a world.
Stolen. Yeah. And I think a lot of these cultures, I think a lot of the cultures around the world, I know in, let's see, where was it? It was actually in England. They would blame children going missing on a goblin, and say that, you know, the child was out playing in an orchard or stealing apples or, you know, doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing, and that's why these children were always going missing, because they had like a real big problem with children just disappearing. And so they came up with something, and this was like from a long time ago, they came up with some reason why these children are disappearing.
Susan, I'm sorry, we're kind of up against a hard break. We have to
Okay.
take a quick station identification break, and then we'll be back with the Weird World News.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, and people of all ages, prepare to get scared. It is Angie Mole and the Weird World News.
Good evening, y'all. How's everybody?
Doing
Excellent.
good.
How are you, Angie?
I'm all
There's
right.
that noise again.
I know, it's so grating on my nerves.
I know.
All right. So I guess, given the topic for the evening, this is a great one to start off with. The Aztec residents of Tecoaque, Mexico, captured a Spanish convoy back in 1520. They consisted of 75 Spanish men, women, and children, 45 Cuban foot soldiers of African and indigenous descent, and 350 indigenous allies of the Spanish. Over 6 months, all were sacrificed by the Aztecs. Not only were they sacrificed, but they were eaten as well, as were their horses.
Well, then they weren't sacrificed; they were cooked.
Yeah.
We know that they were cooked.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was horse tartar.
Sounds fantastic. I love tartar. No. The pigs that the Spaniards brought along with them were killed but not eaten, as it was believed they were viewed with suspicion. Which is hilarious.
You would be suspicious if you're seeing people leaving.
Well, I mean, okay, I don't want bicep. I'd rather have bacon. So I just thought it was, you know, they picked the wrong one.
Yes.
The bones of the Europeans were found scattered, and they had knife marks showing that the bones were pulled apart and the flesh was removed. That's how we know that they were eaten. It wasn't just a guess. The Aztecs strung up the skulls on racks, and certain Spaniards were used in specific offering ceremonies apart from the others. Some of the bones had been carved into trophies. In early 1521, Hernan Cortez ordered revenge on the town to be exacted by Gonzalo de Sandoval. When he returned to Tecoaque, the group burned the temples, decapitated the statues, and slaughtered the population. And all of these deep burial pits they completed uncovering this week.
Oh. It's just getting darker and darker tonight.
Oh, well, okay.
A little.
Okay, well then I'll lighten everything up for y'all. Joe Exotic's representatives waited patiently outside a federal prison in Fort Worth, Texas, hoping for a presidential pardon for Trump at the end of his term. The Joe Exotic appropriate limo sat in a parking lot, taking up a lot of room. From the pictures I've seen, I estimate that the black 2019 Ram Super Stretch Turbo Diesel limo truck is about 43 feet long, which means it blocks 10 parking spaces when it's parked.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I think I saw that shot.
Wow.
This particular truck.
I can't even picture a limo truck. It must be a Texas thing.
Heck yeah, it's a Texas thing. Yes. This particular truck is the longest in Dallas, and it includes a dance floor, indoor and outdoor seating, 2 separate.
Wait a second. Wait a second. How much dancing can you do in a truck?
Quite a bit.
Depends on how big the bed is.
I mean, it's a Dodge Ram, so a lot.
Yeah, but you can't stand up. You're more like squatting.
Well, they take everything out of the interior and completely redo it. So, but yeah, it does. I saw the pictures of it. It wasn't. I mean, so yeah, all of the stretched part is encased, but there is like a regular truck bed in the back that's got like a burglar bar looking fence all the way around it. It's open in the top though, but that's your outdoor seating. And it has separate light shows. And I'm assuming there's a stripper pole, and considering how much you're paying per hour, there should definitely be one included.
Oh my God.
As Trump's presidency came to a close, Exotic's reps had to accept the pardon, did not come. Exotic is currently serving a 22-year sentence for animal abuse and coordinating an unsuccessful murder for hire plot. Just in case you're one of those 3 people listening who did not know who Joe Exotic was.
So I'm curious, did Joe Exotic think Trump was going to pardon him because they both have the same hairstyle?
Have you seen Joe Exotic?
Pictures.
They do not have the same hairstyle, hun.
No, he has a sweet mullet. He doesn't have a comb over.
Right.
Okay.
So the RCMP has concluded an investigation of how 24 kilos of crack cocaine tucked away in shipments of bananas were delivered to a grocery store in Kelowna, British Columbia. I'm going to start picking like really easy towns to pronounce because this is ridiculous. They traced the origins of the bananas and presumably the crack back to Colombia. Officials say that the shipments were probably not meant for the area, but rather were supposed to be pulled out of the bananas prior to the final store delivery and somehow got missed. The RCMP didn't give a street value, but did say that the shipment constitutes 800,000 doses of crack cocaine.
That's a hell of a banana split.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
You probably wouldn't want to eat it at that point.
No.
Based on what I found, that makes the total amount worth around $1.4 million. And that's going by $60 a gram of crack cocaine. Someone is probably missing it, and I'm also assuming that several someones are now missing as well. So just say no, kids. And the last one for this evening is 7 months ago, a Chinese man in Sydney, Australia, who was there on a student visa, fell 4 stories from a balcony in a common area of his apartment complex. He did survive, but he's been in an induced coma since June until yesterday. He awoke on Wednesday to find police at his bedside, but they weren't there to ask questions. They were there to arrest him for murder. The day after the suspect was transported to the hospital, after his fall, police found the body of his girlfriend of 2 years inside his apartment, and she had been beaten to death. The suspect is still recovering in the hospital under police custody, has been denied bail, and is due in video court next week. So no more details have been released, but do you think the suspect was trying to commit suicide after killing his girlfriend? Do you think he could have been framed instead?
There's no telling. It could be anything.
I mean, I would be interested to find out why they just automatically assumed that he was the one who had murdered her. They didn't discuss anything, any kind of forensic evidence that they would have against the guy. They didn't even release the guy's name, even though they did release the girlfriend's name. So I just thought it was kind of interesting. And for him to have taken this, 4-story plunge, kind of made me wonder if he was trying to kill himself after killing her, or
somebody could also throw him out of a window, or wherever he was.
Yeah,
Could have walked in on.
Yeah,
he could have walked in on it.
That's what I was wondering. What maybe y'all thought, because I had you couldn't see it, but I had a question mark over my head. So, okay.
I thought I felt a disturbance in the force.
Yes, a big one.
Oh, now, Angie, do you remember the homework I gave you for last week?
Yes. So what had happened was,
a dog ate your homework.
I was going to say, did your dog eat your homework again?
My dogs will eat anything. When I was teaching, my dogs ate my students' homework. And I'm not even...
I've had that happen.
Wait. Angie, why was there a pause in between students and homework? Did you just feel you needed to throw homework in there because you didn't want people to think that never mind?
That your dog ate your students?
I mean, I made a really big effort to keep my personal life and my professional life separate, so I wouldn't have been okay with that.
I
Okay, so basically I didn't really look into it too much, but I did find that, what was his name again? Yowie? Is that what you said it was?
Yes. The question was, with all of the fires that happened in Australia, were there any reports of any Yowie sightings or Yowie deaths?
Right. Okay. And no, there weren't. There were some pretty wild theories, like, aliens came and, pulled him away for safety, or that he sensed the fires coming and escaped before he could get burned. And there were several other things that were even more crazy than the alien thing. So I don't remember what those were, but no one has actually really reported anything since then.
Okay.
But what I do know about the scuba diver and the helicopter is that whether it's a scoop or a bucket or whatever it is, the receptacle that takes in the water has a very small hole in it to allow water in. So you're looking at anywhere from 4 to 12 inches in diameter, and there's always some sort of grate or filter over it.
A screen, in other words.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the scuba diver would have been basically cubed.
There was someone who at one point had gotten hit by one, I believe. And she had like a couple of broken ribs and some bruises, but no one has ever been picked up and deposited over a wildfire. I mean, although if you think about it, like, you could kind of kill two birds with one stone, because think of all the fish that you could cook.
Yeah.
Really, Brian?
I think
really, Brian? Did you
out there?
Die?
No. That was pride, Angie.
Oh,
Strictly
okay.
Pride.
Okay, I thought that was a hypocritical, like.
No. Of course not. Heck, I mean, Pete put one up on our radio show site a couple of days ago, and I asked him to marry me. I mean, he still hasn't given me an answer, by the way. I'm starting to feel rejected.
Was a question.
Of course not.
I don't want to discuss that on the air.
Well,
okay.
Lucky for y'all, that is all I've got for y'all tonight. Thank you so much for listening to the Full Spectrum Project's Weird World News on WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama. Let's get back to Brian and Pete.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Angie. So we are back talking with Susan Hill about urban legends. And something I wanted to ask you, Susan, and I think you kind of touched on this at least in one of your books, maybe all of them, about the fact that, and you mentioned it at the opening of the show as well, that you like to talk to locals in the small towns and things like that. And it seems like all of the small towns have some sort of a urban legend or lore attached to them. Do you find that some of these small towns tend to have the same legends, even though they could be hundreds or thousands of miles apart?
Yes. One of the one of the most common ones I have found across the board is the Crybaby Bridge legend. There are like literally.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a couple out here in Texas.
Yeah, no, there are so many of them.
Okay. I could only think of a couple of two of them, but I could see where there'd be many of them.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how close the stories are over and over again. There may be a little bit of a variation, but there's usually about 3 or 4 different things that may have happened. So, like, usually your Crybaby Bridge.
I've noticed a couple of the Crybaby Bridge things are also tied to Ya Llorona, because.
And yeah, it's kind of the same thing, but usually the Crybaby Bridge focuses on the kids themselves. The storyline is kind of along the same way, but it's usually it's the children crying that is mostly heard. Sometimes there will be a woman involved that people will see, but a lot of times it is either they'll talk about, depending on the area or the town, sometimes it is a woman who had become distraught for some reason, and she drowned her kids. And now the babies you hear them screaming and crying if you go out there, and, there's all the different rituals, say some things, whatever the chant is that you have to say, the magic words.
I didn't know that there was a chant to activate anything.
Well, some of them there are.
I've never heard that.
I could see where there could be.
Right. Some of them you have to call out, whoever's name it is. Like, a lot of times it's Mary. A lot of times every ghost's name is Mary for some reason. It was just a common name.
But do you think that might? Do you think that might have something to do with people like mixing 2 different legends, like possibly La Llorona and the Bloody Mary myth?
I really do. I think a lot of them kind of have meshed into just, those different elements that you get from legends that you hear from here and there, and people have just kind of morphed them into their own little thing. But a lot of times it's like you call out, Mary, Mary, I have your child, and she might show up in the woods, and then you hear the babies crying. Or sometimes it's the woman, her and her husband with their newborn baby were traveling, and they were ambushed by either some robbers or some Native Americans or something like that. Somehow they killed everybody, and the babies were thrown into the creek or the river, and so now they're eternally crying out. And there's one
there's a bridge out. I think it's out this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, Susan. There's an actual bridge called Woman Hollering Creek. It's named that. And when you had mentioned about the Native Americans killing a woman out there, I mean that's the legend that's out there. I don't know. I didn't know if you remembered that. Or
yes, yeah, that actually, and what's interesting about that one, you can actually trace it back to an incident, and I did find, I have not been able to find her grave yet, but
Okay.
I think I'm close.
So there is truth to that. So there is truth to
the
that
story.
Okay.
Yes, there is truth to a woman and her it wasn't just her, it was her children, her husband, and several other family members. They were all murdered.
Wow.
And it was Native Americans defending their land, and we gonna kill you, and so they did. And but yeah, and that's part of the story, is that there's actually a book that's out there that was written about that attack. The family had done a lot of work, and that's what I'm going to try and get a hold of them and find out if they can let me know where the cemetery is, because I would like to, get that information. Yeah. But there actually are quite a few stories that are like that, and that one is, I found out that that creek is named that because that happened. And kind of back in the day, they would name places for things that happened there, or things that they saw, or people that lived there. And after they were murdered, people started claiming that they kept hearing a woman crying and calling out, and just wailing out there, and so they named it Woman Hollering Creek.
Oh, okay.
We have to take a quick station identification break, but when we come back, we will continue speaking with Susan Hill about urban legends. So we will see you on the other side.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please go to WBHM-DB.com. And if you have any questions that you would like to call in for our guests or your hosts, call in to area code 205-533-7982. So, Susan, when we left before the break, we were talking about small towns and how a lot of them, even though they have their own legends, a lot of them, hundreds and thousands of miles apart, have the same legends. Can you explain how towns so far apart tend to have the same type of legends?
Yeah, see, that's I'm not really sure how that happens. I can understand nowadays, but some of these legends have been going around for so long. I'm not sure how. I don't know if people would travel from place to place, and maybe some of these travelers would tell stories. And then, of course, that person would tell another person, and then it became something that happened there. Yeah, I'm not really sure why in all of these places. Now I really do feel like it's part of that. We have that here too. But because like I said, we've got the Crybaby Bridge. There's also the whole goat man thing, which is really big around my part of the area. There's a goat man. But what's funny is there's another goat man that's a completely different story, that's over like by Lake Dallas. And then but as I was doing research, I find all these other goat men everywhere too, and they're the half goat, half human kind of thing. And which is the one that I grew up with out here on the Brazos, because supposedly there's a goat man out here.
how does one become a goat man? I mean, what is the beginning? What are the beginnings of it?
I have no idea.
Or is that
Mine,
just or is that just another name for Bigfoot? Like he's got so many different names as it is.
Yeah, I mean, again, is this just another cryptid that we don't know about? Is this? I mean, it just kind of keeps.
Because there's like pig men out there, and
oh yeah,
I mean anything you can really.
And like Bigfoot,
half and half
every region of not even just America, but the world has a different name for Bigfoot. I mean, there's the swamp ape, the Yeti, the Yowie, as you were talking about. All these different names, but it's the same being. In Alabama they have the Alabama white thing. It's just a white Bigfoot, basically.
In Fort Worth, they have the Fort Worth monster. So it's white.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. I've been out there looking for him too. Didn't come across him.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay. So I've always wanted to know with people that go out hunting cryptids. What would you do if you came across it? I mean, given that, it could be anywhere from 7 foot to 10 foot tall and, almost 1,000 pounds at some places. What would you do?
Well, I don't really know. Actually, I've only gone on them a couple of times. I don't really go after cryptids a whole lot. It's not really my thing. I would like to think, just because I've never come across one, I can't say for sure, because you don't know how you're going to react whenever you come across something you've never experienced. But I would like to think that I would at least try and videotape it without shaking my phone, like all these people who get these videos and drive me crazy.
Well, I'm convinced that Bigfoot's just blurry.
It must be pixelated a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah.
A natural pixelated creature.
Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, I would like to think that if I came across something that was proof of something, that I would have the thought of, I need to be videotaping this, because if I'm out there, I'm obviously searching. So why wouldn't I have it ready? But I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this: when you go out searching for them, are you carrying? I mean, are you one of these folks that believes that a body's the only thing that will have science say that it is a creature?
So you're asking me if I
shoot it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I carry, but it's mostly because of people, not creatures.
Okay. I was just asking.
Because I'm a woman, and a lot of times I'm more scared of humans than I am.
Yeah, I am too.
Supernatural beings.
Oh yeah.
Hey Pete, you were asking how somebody becomes a goat man?
Yes.
There's actually a story comes from Kentucky about the goat man of Pope Lick.
Yep, the Pope Lick monster.
Yeah, and it says, I wasn't even sure I had that right, but it says here that many people believe that he was a farmer who tortured his goats for Satan, and in turn was transformed into a hideous goat monster himself.
Right.
And then we have here in California, we have he's not technically a goat man per se, but the Billy Whack monster.
Right.
And he was supposedly transformed into what he looks like, and he does look like he's half man, half goat, trying to make a super soldier. So,
right. I did write about that in my California book.
Yeah.
How about Hodag?
Who?
Hodag, Hodag.
I haven't heard of him.
Oh, okay. I really don't remember much of the story about him. I really don't even remember what state it was in, but it was something like, kind of looked like a kind of like a big pig monster that supposedly is out there. Does that sound familiar, Susan? Hodag?
Yeah, I cannot remember. Let me see if I can remember.
They have a festival every year on.
Yeah, he was like a. Oh, I know
he kind of looked like a big bullfrog or like a pig.
Yeah,
bullfrog.
he had like he.
It says here a bull-horned carnivore. Not
Yeah.
much of a description.
No.
He had like fangs and like these big fangs and claws. Oh my goodness, where was that at?
Yeah, because there's a festival that's done, and then there's a guy that supposedly saw him or something, and he tells the story of Hodag, and he's got a replica of what he looked like that he always shows, and supposedly a big deal out there.
Right. Yeah, it was in Wisconsin, and I think he was eating people's cows or something. Oh goodness, I can't remember exactly what. Let me see. I think I found my notes on him.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw a left ball at you.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it is in Wisconsin, and yeah, they do have a festival every year.
See, I wasn't crazy.
Apparently he showed up in 1893, and he says that the man encountered this vicious beast. It was supposed, well, on here it says he was black, actually. I thought he was green, but maybe that's just the
age,
the picture that they made of him.
Yeah.
I guess he was attacking people's cattle and eating them.
Yeah, because the town is really it's kind of famous for it, and a lot of people go there, like and to visit it. Yeah.
So America is known for having a lot of immigrants coming to this country.
No way.
No?
No, really.
See, that's an urban legend.
That is an urban legend.
Right.
So with all of these immigrants coming from literally all corners of the globe, how have these immigrants influenced the creation of urban legends here in the United States?
Yeah, so I really do feel like that whole melting pot concept has gone right into the urban legend realm too. I had talked about it earlier, this creature called the snallygaster. It's just one of the weirdest creatures I've ever heard of in my life. But it comes out of Maryland, but it actually is something that the German immigrants had seen before they had come to America. So once they got to America, apparently they did. And this specific being, I mean, they knew it was a snallygaster because it was, I know it's like Geister, but no, I'm not German. So I can't say it right. But they knew it was because this is the only creature in the world that looks like this. And I just want to give you like a description of it. Okay, so this thing's part bird, part reptile, and part dragon. Oh, but wait, there's more. He has large bird-like wings that are covered in scales instead of feathers. He has large talons, like an eagle, a beak that is made of metal, and he has razor-sharp teeth. But wait, there's even more. He's at least 20 foot tall. He has one eye, and he has tentacles that come out of his mouth that help him pull the prey into his mouth so he can suck the blood out of the victim. this thing.
I was going to say, this thing sounds like somebody in a brewery who took too much LSD and decided to drink an entire vat and came up with this guy.
Well, it's interesting. You should bring up a brewery, because apparently the way they killed it was there was a man out in the woods in Maryland who had a huge still that he was making moonshine in, and the fumes from it apparently drugged the Snallygaster as it was flying over him, and it crashed to the ground, and they were able to kill it. So that's how it finally died. But they believe that it had a baby, and there may have been more that were hiding in the hills. So they may not be gone. But what's interesting about this creature is that President Roosevelt actually canceled everybody knows how big of a hunter he was. He actually canceled a hunting trip to stay in America to go hunt this thing down.
Really?
Yes. And so it was sensational all through all through New England. I mean, all the newspapers were talking about this thing, that it was, attacking humans and killing animals and, flying over these villages and so it's so much so that it made it to the president, and he's like, okay, I'm not going to go over to Africa and hunt. I'm going to stay in America and hunt this thing down and kill it. And of course he never came across it. But I just thought that was interesting, how something that was supposedly seen in Germany followed them to America. And something this thing was just insane.
Yeah, to say the least.
Right. But, we also have, like, everybody knows that we've seen all over the world are the black dogs. The legend of these hellhounds. And they're seen all over. And of course, they originated in England. That was the first place they were ever, really seen. And so those actually have made their way here. There's actually quite a few in New England in areas, and people talk about seeing these hounds of hells, running down the road beside them. And there's actually one that they talk about in Montana that is apparently so large that it reaches, if you're in a car, it reaches the roof of your car. It's so huge. And it will run next to your car, and it's caused numerous people to have wrecks along this one stretch of road. And so that legend has made its way here as well with immigrants from England. And we have the faceless lady. The faceless lady is actually a legend out of Japan originally. And she is, Japanese legends are very, it's always like a woman in a white dress with the dark hair, like the ring,
Right.
They're all, they have that woman. But this one, she actually has no face whatsoever. Like all her features are gone.
Completely?
And, yes, like there's nothing there whatsoever. This is a blank canvas. And this one actually originally moved from Japan to Hawaii, of course. And from Hawaii, now it has made its way to several different cities in America, New York actually being one of them. And that people are seeing this woman and they think that something's wrong with her, so they'll like go to touch her and say, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And then, which they wouldn't do that in New York, but anyway, I'm talking Manhattan, New York, not the state. But they would, if they go to check on her, she'll turn around and she has no face. And if she gets her hands on you, then she's going to strangle you. So it was crazy crazy things that come from these other countries that we kind of developed into, our own things, but they've touched, and changed our own legends.
Are you familiar with the Cornish Tommy knockers?
Absolutely, I wrote about those.
That's one that I really thought, really, again, pardon the puns, that legend just sunk its teeth into the United States.
Yes, it did. And I mean, I think part of that was really, of course, this is the thing. A lot of the Irish and Scottish, their legends about trolls and fairies, and I mean, look how far those things have reached. People talk about all those different things all the time. I mean, there's bridge trolls and stuff that people talk about even in these large cities, and the legends that are attached to those that, but yeah, the Tommy knockers, the miners and stuff, they would come from these other countries and then they'd come here. And of course you've got your immigrants who are working in the mines with other, Americans and other people from other countries. Right. And they would tell their stories of, well, you know what that sounds, that's Tommy knockers. You gotta, be careful. And, and so of course, it's creepy in the dark. So you're going to be like, maybe I shouldn't. So, yeah.
Well, I know, like at Calico Ghost Town here in California, a lot of the miners, even if they weren't Cornish or of European ancestry, they would actually take lunches into the mines to
the miners
give
were
to the Tommy
the miners
knockers.
were over 21. You know that.
Well, I do. So, they
were drinking at the bar.
And on that note, this actually happened, they would always make sure to keep a couple areas at the bar empty with a drink in case the Tommy knockers wanted to come and have a drink with them.
Right.
That's how deep yeah, I mean, that's how deep that superstition was ingrained in miners. And even relatively recently, I believe it was like 10 years ago or so, that there was a mine in Oregon that they actually had to shut down because no miner would go back into work there because they believed that the Tommy knockers wanted them out. And they actually ended up shutting the mine down.
Well, didn't you have an experience with Tommy knockers when you were out there?
Me?
Yeah, you. No, your brother.
No, I didn't really have an experience with the Tommy knockers when I was doing the research, but I was talking to this one person who just swears that they're real, and it was just something that I thought kind of interesting. And as I was talking to the person, I didn't dispute it or anything, but they firmly believe that there were and are Tommy knockers still in the mines around the Calico mining district. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
See, I had thought that you had gone into the mine out there, and I thought you had heard some weird stuff. Maybe I was just mistaken.
I remember writing about some of the weird stuff, but I think you're getting it confused with when I was interviewing one of the clerks in one of the shops, and
maybe that's what it was.
An EVP of one of the spirits. So I think that might be what you're getting.
Okay.
So we have to take another quick break. Oh yeah. We have to take another quick break. But when we come back, we'll continue with Susan Hale talking about urban legends.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB out of Birmingham, Alabama. You still have a little bit of time if you want to join the chat room. Go to WBHM-DB.com. And if you have questions for our guests or the hosts, you can call into area code 205-533-7982. Pete, I wanted to ask you, have you ever golfed?
Golfed?
Yeah, golf.
Well,
it's a game.
Yeah. Well, I can't really get my swing up for to make it arch. But damn it, I could take out gophers all day.
There you go. Yeah, I used to golf a lot. I was really horrible at it. I once turned my putter into a
Angie.
No, seriously, I once turned my putter into a pretzel. But I'm actually thinking about taking the sport up again. Sport, that's a weird name for golf. But the last time I did it, everybody kept making fun of me because I'd always bring in an extra pair of pants in case I got a hole in one. So I'm not sure I want to, put myself through that again.
Angie.
She left.
I hate you. You didn't stop him.
We've done a lot of talking
Susan.
about.
I'm so sorry, Susan.
Okay.
A moment of silence for the intelligence that just passed through that last joke.
Oh, watch it.
Dominus pass another biscuit. Go ahead.
So, we were talking a lot about legends and history. What is there a direct link between urban legends and history?
Well, yeah. I mean, I honestly have found that. I mean, some of them, of course, they have literally no spark of truth whatsoever. It's pure fiction, just good story, bro. But that's about it.
Right.
A lot of these actually do have a little bit. They have a link to an historic event or person, place, something. And that's the thing. Like, I really do feel like legends serve a good purpose in our world because it's kind of a way to spark people's interest, a fun way to get people interested. And then if you start looking into it, you're basically looking into a neglected page of history, something that has been lost, forgotten about. And the more you look into it, this is a way for people who aren't really research junkies to read a story. And then that's why in my books, I like to, if I can find historical facts, I usually put that stuff in there. I'll tell the legend, but I like to put the history in there too, because that's important for you to say, wait, that was a real person. And you find out so much, and it's a glimpse into a time period that we are not able to see. And so I truly believe that it's important. I feel like legends really are. It's a link to the past. It's that fun link, a lighthearted way for us to find the real story, the real history.
Susan, when you have gone through your research, have you found that creepypastas have become urban legend?
I feel a lot of them, especially with the
like
millennials.
Slender Man's a big one.
Oh yes, and a lot of people feel like those are a lot of them have become urban legends now because people've taken them and gone further with them. I mean, like the whole Slender Man thing. I mean, there was that murder with it. And those girls, and that was a horrible thing. They were using that as an excuse. And I feel like whatever becomes legend becomes legend. You don't really have control over that. I personally try and stay away from those. I was thinking about doing a book about that, like internet legends that have started.
That would be
That's
cool.
a whole other world. So I that's kind of something I'm going to delve into later. I've already got a collection of them because, of course, when you're researching, you come across stuff, and so you put that in another file. But but that's, I mean, because there are so many of them now, and not all of them are creepy pasta. Some of them are legends that have come about through the digital age. These people, like internet stalkers and people finding your information and then showing up at your house or looking at you through your video cameras, all these different things that have become these legends that are more pertinent to the world we live in now. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the creepypastas have their place, but I'm trying to keep them separate from, like, folklore and urban legends. I look at them kind of like stages, stages in history.
Well, what are some of the strangest urban legends that you've come through? You've done 3 books, and you said you got a 4th one coming out next week, which congratulations. But what have you found are some of the goofiest?
Well, I mean, obviously that's Snallygaster, and I will forever bring that one up because it's crazy. It's just, I will never forget. I was dying laughing whenever I was researching that one. But a lot of them are these cryptids, like these creatures that people see. The descriptions of them, there's one that's called, it's the Van Meter monster. It's Van Meter, Iowa. It's just named after the town. But it was another one that was the interesting thing about this, I feel like this one has like pieces of different cryptids, kind of Mothman-ish, a little bit of, I don't know. But supposedly this creature was like an 8-foot tall creature. It had large bat-like wings, one horn on its forehead, and it would cast a beam of light from that horn, a very bright laser-type beam, and it smelled really, really bad. So everybody would smell this thing coming before they knew it was there.
Wow.
Just like Brian.
Hey.
But this thing it showed up in this town. It scared a bunch of people. It really didn't kill anybody. It just kept scaring people. It would show up places kind of like, kind of like what the Mothman did. I'm here and I'm and people were freaking out. And, but then, it just kind of disappeared one day and nobody's seen it since. But some people were saying that it was an alien because of the beam of light coming from its head, from its horn. So a lot of people thought that it was some sort of alien type creature. But that one was a little weird. Beam of light coming from the horn was different. And that was it was in the 40s, so it wasn't really, really long ago. And one of we had actually talked about this. One of the ones that I think is it's a strange tale, but it's one that's very well known, is the Jersey Devil. So the Jersey Devil is a story that is from the Pine Barrens, and it actually
I always thought I always thought the Jersey Devil. I did some research on that too, and it really looks like a camelback.
It does.
It looks very... all of the drawings and stuff that I've seen. They look identical, and I don't know if anybody could have brought that over, and it was maybe. It maybe got out from somebody's collection, or I don't know, but it really looks like it.
Yes, and it's very strange. I do not know I mean, there have been so many people who have claimed to have seen this or been attacked by it, or, and again, it's got varying types of stories, and it's almost one of those, like, cautionary tale kind of things. The most well-known one is that a woman who had 13 children had, she had 12.
Miss Leeds, right?
Yes, Miss Leeds. She had already had 12 children, and when she found out she was pregnant with her 13th, she said, "I wish it was a devil," because she was so mad. She's like, "I'm done having kids. Can we not?" And so, because of that,
I feel really bad for her. I mean, 13 kids.
Right. Yeah. So, whenever she had the child, it was born a devil, and they kept it locked up. And then one day it escaped out into the woods, and it's been, on a murderous rampage ever since.
Didn't they find the Leeds cabin, or a cabin out there that was in the area?
There was and that's actually historically, they were a real family. And they had a cabin out in the woods. She did have a lot of kids. But there's also two other stories that kind of are from the same area. One of them is like a young girl got pregnant out of wedlock, and so she had a devil baby. And some say that the child was born as a devil, and some say that it slowly transformed into one, and then again escaped and started killing people.
Great.
So, I mean, but from the pictures, this thing is kind of like got that horse face and wings and hooves, and it's really, it is. It doesn't.
It's creepy looking. It is.
It is. And I mean, it's a strange. For as many people who have claimed to have seen this thing, it's a very interesting story. And again, it's in one of those triangles that all kinds of crazy, weird things happen. The Pine Barrens is just a weird place. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it really has a weird feeling to it.
I try to stay out of places that will kick my butt.
Do what?
I try to stay out of places that will try to kick my butt.
Oh, well, it's a lot of the trees. It's kind of swampy in a lot of the places. It's very barren. I mean, there's just not a whole lot of. There's the trees, but it just looks. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird area. It has a weird feel to it. It may just be the way it looks that makes it feel weird, but I feel like there's something else to it.
It's in New Jersey.
Well, there's that. But
that says it all.
But it is. It's a strange area, and I it's some pretty densely forested. I mean, something could be hiding out there, but I don't know. I have no idea. But it's a strange story.
So, Susan, we only have a little less than a minute. So, what's next for you? You have another book coming out. Are you working on any other urban legend books? Any of the other state books after this one comes out? What do you have in the works?
Yeah. So this next one that's coming out is the I's. So Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Idaho. I said Idaho and Iowa backwards, but whatever. And then the next one will be out probably 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, it'll be out in 2 to 3 weeks. So I've got one coming out next week, and then the next one, which is Kansas, Kentucky. I can't remember what other state. And
sorry, I've had days like that too.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, I'm just going to finish up the States, and then I'm going to go ahead and tackle Canada, and then I'm going to do Mexico, and then I'm just going to go from there, from country to country.
Nice. Well, it's definitely
Yeah.
going to keep you busy, that's for sure, because I'm sure there's a lot out there, especially if you're going to go from country to country.
Yeah,
all right.
there's a lot.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I wanted to say thank you so much, Susan, for this. I had an absolute blast. Pardon me, I'm not usually this quiet, but I've been sick the last few days. Yeah, there's actually quite a few things that I wanted to ask you about that I didn't get a chance to. But I would love to have you back on at some point if you'd be willing to discuss some more urban legends.
I'd love that too, Susan.
Absolutely, anytime.
Okay.
Sounds great. All right. So next week, we welcome Troy Taylor to the show. And as you all know, Troy is just a wealth of information about a lot of different subjects. So we really look forward to having Troy on the show next week. Until then, I want to wish everybody a safe and happy week. And thank you so much for me, Brian, and Pete.
Oh, and me too. I thought you were thanking for me.
No, I wouldn't do that. Well, okay, I might.
No. And from Angie as well.
And from Angie as well. And we truly appreciate y'all listening in. Oh my God, I said y'all. I am starting to turn Texan.
You heard it here, folks. It's transitioning right now.
Anyway, until next week, please, everybody be safe, and please tune in next week. Thank you so much.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.